Today's lesson is going to be about graphing f of x is equal to ax squared plus c. And so all the plus c does is literally move our graph up and down. That's all it does. So let's go ahead and draw normally what happens if our c is equal to 0. And we're going to do that in blue. So if c is equal to 0, we're going to get our normal graph, ax squared, right? And so when c is greater than 0, then the graph f of x equals ax squared plus c is translated upwards. All right, so all we're going to do is take this graph and it's going to move up. So that's what happens if c is greater than 0. When c is less than 0, well, you could probably guess what is going to happen. The graph of f of x is equal to ax squared plus c is translated down. So we can draw that in. It's still pointing upwards towards the sky, but notice now that it is going to be shifted downward. All right, and the vertex of f of x equals ax squared plus c is the point 0, comma c. And x equals 0 is the axis of symmetry. So everything we applied and learned last time is now just being applied to this new graph, right? That's why I said it's a pretty straightforward process today. All right, so first we're going to graph f of x is equal to x squared minus 2. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to draw our graph right over here. All right, and we're going to set up a table just like we have been doing. So we got our x, so we got our f of x, and we're going to use the numbers -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. And we're going to draw this graph in yellow. So if we plug in f of 0 is equal to 0 squared minus 2, that's just going to be equal to a -2. Then if we plug in f of 1 is equal to 1 squared minus 2, that's going to be equal to 1 minus 2, which is equal to a -1. And then if we plug in f of 2, we're going to get a 2 squared minus 2, or 4 minus 2, which is equal to 2. And remember now that the other side is mirrored because x of 0 is our axis of symmetry. So everything is going to be the same on the left-hand side of 0 as it is the right-hand side of 0. So this is going to be equal to a -1, and that's going to be equal to a +2. So our vertex is down here at the point 0, -2. That's our vertex. And then we have a point here at 1, -1, -1, -1, and then 2, 2, and -2, +2. We're going to go ahead and draw in our graph just like that. And that's how we do it, right? And I know you'd probably like to see an example where we do something with some negatives. So why don't we do that as well? We're going to graph f of x is equal to a -0.5x squared plus 2. All right. And we're also going to graph f of x, sorry, not f of x, g of x is equal to f of x, so this entire thing, minus 7. So let's first graph f of x in our nice baby blue color, and then we'll go ahead and graph g of x in this orange color. So we're going to set up a table once again. We're going to have f of x right here. We're going to take a -4, a -2. Notice that I'm using numbers that are easily divisible by 0.5. That's key in these. So you get nice numbers. We're going to go ahead, we're going to put our graph over here on the left-hand side. All right, so our tail kind of curved there on the y-axis, but that's okay. And if we plug in a -4 into this graph, we're going to go ahead, let's do that right down here, actually, because I need to preserve the room of this table. So we're going to take f of x is equal to -0.5 x squared plus a 2. And so for f of 0, that's going to equal a 0 plus a 2, which is just equal to 2. And then for f of 2, we're going to take -0.5 times by a 2 squared plus 2, which is -0.5 times 2 squared, which is 4 plus 2, which is equal to a -2 plus a 2, which is equal to 0. And then once more doing this for f of 4, that's going to equal -0.5 times a 4 squared plus 2, which is equal to -0.5 times 4 squared, which is 16 plus 2. Half of 16 is 8 plus 2, or a 10. And now remember, we're mirrored on the other side, so that's going to be a 0. And that's going to be, wait, there's a negative here. Half of that's going to be a -8, negative plus a -6. All right, so it's always good to check yourself. And the reason why I knew that mistake is I knew I couldn't go up, down, and then back up. That doesn't work. So we needed to continue going down. And so now we can graph this guy. We'll go to 0 and a +2. I didn't put any tick marks in for our +2. There we go. We got a -2 and a 0, -2 and a 0, and a -4 and a -6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. -4, -4, and this guy is going to continue out like that on the left-hand side, and out like that on the right-hand side. We can attempt to redraw that. There we go. And now we also need to graph this g of x is equal to f of x minus 7. So we're going to just continue our table right here. And the only thing we're going to do is we're going to subtract a 7 from each one of those terms. So -6 minus 7 is a -13, 0 minus 7 is a -7, 2 minus 7 is a -5, 0 minus -7, and -13. So our axis has moved down 7 from this 2 to a -5. Then everything else is also moved down by 7. So our 2 is at a -7, -7, and then our 4 got moved all the way down here to a -13. And that's how you do it. That's how you graph with having a plus or minus at the end. It's really straightforward. I think you guys will really get this. Like I said, today was a very short lesson, and that's all I got for you today. Oop, I scrolled up into geometry. Anyways, guys, have a great day. Thank you.